Hey, hello everyone, and welcome to the Zero to CCIE and Zero to Lab webinar, where we are going to understand what exactly do we have in our program to get you to that CCIE level, and also how can you actually prepare for this exam, which is a very difficult exam, I would say, not in the terms of content, but in the terms of the quantity of topics that they ask. And of course, there are new topics as well. So it's very important to have a structure if you want to pass this exam. And of course, the fundamental concepts are extremely important along with the hands-on labs. So let's get started. Let's see what exactly is the program and how can you actually achieve the success in this program, right? Uh, just a second. All right. So first of all, the program that we have for our CCI is called Zero to Lab. And what do you get in this program? Let's talk about the structure of this program, and also we'll understand what is CCI, what exactly can you expect in the CCI exam, and what different topics are covered in CCI exam, and how do we actually tackle this. And then lastly, what would be expected from your side when you decide to join this program, right? So this is one of our very successful program, and you will see that if you have any more questions even after the webinar, you can already see the link into the chat. You can book a call with my partner Christian, and he will answer all your queries there, right? So let's start. First of all, what do we have in our course here? So our course structure for CCI is completely hands-on based. We want to make sure that we concentrate on a particular technology one day at a time, and then we make sure that I explain you everything. For example, let's say we are starting QoS, quality of service, or BGP, or MPLS, or DMVPN. So we will take one particular topic, and I will make sure that you understand everything you need to understand about that topic, and then I will be doing the lab in front of you, right into the Zoom session, and then it will be followed by you doing the same lab. The reason we want you to do the same lab within the Zoom session is so that you also practice it immediately after learning it. And generally what happens that if you are on your own during the week, life kicks in, and then you don't get time to do anything, and sometimes you feel not so much motivated to do the labs as well. So it's better to do it right into the live Zoom session just after I complete the lab, and I will also send you the lab and the solution file so that you can do the same thing during the week as well. So the course structure we are talking about here is going to be weekly sessions. And in these weekly sessions, we will have 2 hours per session. And in these 2 hours, 1 hour will be the instructor-led lab configuration, where I'll explain you a certain topic and I will do the lab in front of you, explaining why something is done in the way it is done. So these you can call them actually single protocol labs, right? Because we are just targeting a single topic for that particular day. Of course, this will be followed later in the course with the multi-protocol labs, where we will actually configure the full exam-like labs right here, so that you can have ample practice before you go for the exam. And the next hour will be the participants need to configure the same lab so that you understand the concept. You see me configuring it while I'm explaining it as well. And then you do the same thing right there. And I will send you the labs beforehand, don't worry. So you will be able to give it a go. You will be able to check it. And I will send you the solution file as well, because this is the time for learning. So I'm not testing yourself. I'm not testing that you remember or not what I just taught you. You can actually look at the solution file. You can ask me also if you get stuck somewhere, because this is the learning phase where you are learning exactly how to configure these things. Excuse me, just a minute. All right. So as I was saying that it is just the learning phase. So you still actually are learning. So you can actually look for the solution file, and you can ask me the questions as well while you are doing the lab on your own. And once the lab is done, you can send me the show commands output via email, just to make sure that you are getting the same result as expected. And I can actually reply you if I find something missing, or if I need a comment on something, or I need to explain you something in that part, right? So the structure is, we cover one technology, and then I explain you, I do the lab, and then you follow it by doing the lab. So immediately after understanding, you apply it. So this is the applied concept. and that actually registers the concept more in your brain, and you become more comfortable with the technology, basically, right? And if you have any issues, you can refer to the solution file. And of course, if the solution file is not clear, you can definitely ask me also anytime, whatever the question you have about that particular technology, right? So how can this program help you? Because there are so many different programs out there. Many of them are actually boot camps. So what happens in boot camps is that you get 5 to 10 days boot camp where all the technologies are explained in a rapid fashion, 8 hours every day. And if you are not very familiar with these technologies, or if you have been working in industry but not exactly on Cisco devices, not exactly on all the technologies, nobody is working on all the technologies, right? So it becomes very difficult to retain all that information within 5 to 7 days, and you pay thousands of dollars for that, and you still feel like, okay, I didn't get enough time to practice everything or to understand everything, to grasp everything, right? So that's why this program is created in a way that we make sure that we understand everything and we practice everything before moving on to the next topic, right? So the main thing missing in a lot of programs is a lot of practice. And this program addresses this issue with the following plan. So the plan that we have is all the single protocol labs configured and explained by me, followed by the configuration by you guys. So we make sure that every single topic that is there into the blueprint, and I will explain you the blueprint in few minutes, what is expected in the exam. We are going to go through these topics one by one, dissecting every detail of it, making sure that you understand it and you become comfortable with it. For example, if you are talking about a spanning tree protocol or SD-WAN or DMVPN, then we make sure that you understand the logic behind it. Why do we use it? What is the purpose of it? And then, of course, the most important question, how to configure it. And then immediately you will see me configuring it as well, followed by you configuring it. So it becomes very, very clear how to actually configure these technologies. And of course, uh, during the week when we don't have the live Zoom session, if you have any questions or if you want to practice it again, we are going to provide you the detailed solution file also for the practical lab, so that you can, while doing it, if you get stuck, you can immediately refer to the solution file. Because remember, during this course, don't have the mindset of examining yourself or testing yourself. Just have the mindset of learning, right? So just you are learning. So anytime you get stuck, you refer to the solution file, and now you know how to do it, and now you have learned it, right? So that's the beauty of it. And you will see that there will be Q&A sessions also in every class. So every week, once the live Zoom session is done, when I have explained you the technology, I have configured the lab in front of you, and then you have followed it by configuring the lab right into that Zoom session. We will have a Q&A session. So if you have any doubts about this technology, or if you have doubts anything from the last week while you are doing it again during the week, you can ask me the questions there, and I'll be more than happy to answer you. Even if during the week when we don't have a live Zoom session, if you have any question, we have a Facebook group, and we have the recordings website where all the recordings are available, where you can also ask the question anytime, and we'll be more than happy to answer your queries, right? And we also do cover all the advanced topics, which are newer topics in CCI. For example, software-defined networking, SD-WAN, and SDA. So the LAN side implementation of software-defined networking is called software-defined access, or SDA, and the WAN side implementation is called software-defined WAN, or SD-WAN. So we do cover these things as well in depth, and to make sure that you understand all the concepts. So software-defined networking basically means you decouple the control plane and the data plane from your devices, routing devices, switching devices, and you place the control plane, means the brain of routing and switching, into a central location, a central device, which is called controller. And your other devices, routers and switches, the edge devices, they only have the data plane, means they are only responsible to forward the traffic according to the policies pushed by the controller. So this logic you can apply into the LAN also and WAN also. And that's why we have two solutions: SDA, which uses Cisco DNA Center, and SD-WAN, which is the WAN side solution, or the wide area network solution. So just to give you an example, let me show you one of the topology. For example, if you see this topology, this is the for SD-WAN, and we are using these controllers. vSmart is the controller for SD-WAN. vManager is a single pane of glass management engine where you can get the GUI. of the complete topology graphical user interface. And the vBond is the orchestrator who takes care of licensing, certification, and making sure only the legitimate devices are joining your network. And then you can have multiple different sites, like different branches, VH1, VH2, VH3. So we have these kind of topologies, and we make sure that you practice properly, and you can practice on your own devices also, and don't depend on any kind of online connection to connect to a rack, and making sure that you have the slot book for rack rentals. We don't want to do all of these things. So we make sure you have everything available locally on your system, right? Excuse me. Just a sec. Sorry about that. Yeah, so we do cover this as well. And we also cover programmability and automation as well. So programmability and automation is also something new that was added to CCIE. And programmability simply means that you can actually query your resources using Python, RESTconf, netconf, and you can use some different coding, encoding or data format examples, data format languages as well. So this is also something covered in detail. So let me show you just an example. For example, here you can see this is one example of a netconf request. But netconf request you can do directly from CLI also, and I will teach you that also. Netconf is a protocol which can actually send a query to the router or a switch and can get a response from the router or the switch if netconf is enabled on that router, right? And the query could be to request some information, retrieve some information, or it could be a query to change some information. So you can do it from the CLI perfectly fine. You can open MS-DOS, or you can open any terminal program and you can do it. Or you can create the Python programs to automate this stuff. For example, this is one example of a Python program where we are using NC client or netconf client to connect to this IP address, which will be one of the IP address of a router. And we provide the username and password here. And then we can actually query for a certain interface. For example, interface gigabit Ethernet 1. I would like to know the configuration of this interface. So you can get the config of the router. And then if you want to change any config about this, you can actually do that as well. You can call a particular interface like gigabit Ethernet 3. And then this interface, you can place a description like interface to Linux desktop or whatever you like. And then you can configure IP addressing, subnet mask. Everything can be done using the netconf itself, right? Excuse me. And similarly, you can also use RESTconf. So RESTconf has slightly different syntax, and I'll explain you, and you will see it is better. So configured using RESTconf for IP. You can see this is the description. We are configuring gigabit Ethernet 4, and we are configuring IP address and subnet mask. So don't worry about the syntax. This is something I'll explain you in the programmability part. But these are the examples of some Python coding that we are also going to learn. So basics of Python, how to code it, how to use it with the NC client, which is netconf, or import request, which is the RESTconf. So using it with both. Apart from this, we will also see how can we use Python locally inside the router. So every iOS XE router, for example, ISR 1000 routers, they have a Linux operating system inside them. Excuse me. We have a Linux operating system inside the router, which is called guest shell. So we are going to learn that part as well. So don't worry, right now I'm not teaching you any of this stuff. I'm just telling you what information we are going to cover into our program, right? So programmability and automation will also be a big part of it. And of course, once you have become comfortable with individual technologies, routing, switching, and everything, we are going to make sure that you understand and you do the full actual exam like multi-protocol lab to practice, right? So these labs, these multi-protocol lab will have multiple routers and switches connected to each other, and we will be configuring many of the technologies step by step according to a single lab, which will go for 6 hours, right? 5 hours actually, not 6 hours. So here you will configure layer 2 switching. On the top of that, you will configure layer 3 routing. On the top of that, you will configure the VPN technologies like MPLS and DMVPN. And on the top of that, you will configure some IP services, some like DHCP, DNS implementation, and some quality of service. So you can see all the technologies will get mixed here. And then we have another dedicated multi-protocol lab for SD-WAN and SDN also, where you will configure and understand the concepts of software-defined networking as well. And lastly, we will have some labs for programmability and automation as well, right? And during this whole course, I'm going to give you troubleshooting tips also. And troubleshooting is something that you will see it heavily depends on the fundamental knowledge. For example, if I ask you two routers cannot become OSPF neighbor, the neighborship is not coming up. What are you going to check? So if you know what happens in the OSPF neighborship, if you know what is the first thing that a router does when you activate OSPF, it sends a hello message, a hello packet, right? And the other router also sends you a hello packet. And there are some certain parameters into the hello packet which must match. For example, the area ID must match, network must match, timers must match, MTU also must match. In case you configure authentication, that also must match. So if you know already these things which must match, you are going to go and check these things and you will find your answer, right? There are a few things which must not match, like must be unique, like router ID. So you can also check that if router ID is conflicting, and that can also be one of the issue, right? So you can see that I am going to teach you the fundamentals in so detail, so that troubleshooting will become second nature. Because ultimately, what happens, STP is having a troubleshooting issue, or if EIGRP is having an issue, you just need to know how should it behave in a normal condition, and what are the aspects which must match and must not match, and then accordingly you can quickly do the troubleshooting, right? So troubleshooting also will become your one of the strong suite if you join this course. And of course, throughout the duration of this course, there will be my support for you. So I have two CCIs and I have done it twice, and one in routing switching, one in service provider. So I exactly know how much preparation it needs and what kind of tricks and tips you can use to actually uh, have a good chance in passing the exam. So I will definitely be more than happy to help you throughout this course, not only technically, but some exam tips and tricks as well, right? And whatever we are going to do into the live Zoom session, we are going to record that as well. So you will have the lifetime access to the class recording. So let's say if you miss one day when I was teaching DSCP, or miss one day when I was teaching STP, you can go and check the recording again. And even if you don't miss the class, you want to watch it again during the week, you want to watch it 10 times, 100 times during the next 6 months, next 5 years, you will have the lifetime access to the class recordings. So that is another big thing. So that in case if life happens and you get busy somewhere, you can come back to this, and you we will be more than happy to allow you to new classes also. Like if you want to join another zero to lab class, maybe you due to something you had to stop somewhere, that will be actually very easy and free of charge. You can join the same level of course again if there is a legitimate reason why you had to stop last time. So there is absolutely no issue, and the class recordings will be available irrespectively, right? It will be available for the lifetime access. uh, just a second. All right. So as you have seen that topology I just showed you here, this one, like this is the EVNG, this is the SD-WAN topology, and for routing and switching also we have topologies here. Just a sec. Excuse me. You see that for routing and switching also we have many topologies, like we have span R-span, STP topology, and we have OSPF topologies. We have base lab, which is actually having multiple routers, and we can use it for different kind of routing and switching implementation. So what tool are we using here that you can also use easily? So this tool that we are using is called EVNG, and you can use it on a VMware machine. So EVNG is actually an emulation software. Emulation simply means that you are using the actual operating system images in the background, and just that the front end is not a hardware, it's a software. So you can just click on a router and the terminal will open. But once the terminal opens, you actually get the access to the real operating system, the real iOS images. So EVNG is actually freely available online. But the issue is that once you download it, you will have to somehow find the right iOS images from somewhere. You have to copy them to EVNG. You have to make sure that you have to make sure that licensing is properly done for each image, whether it is for router, switch, firewall, SD-WAN. And finally, once you import everything, you have to create the topology. You have to think that what topologies I can connect to practice every aspect of a routing protocol or important aspects of a routing protocol. So we wanted to make sure that when you join this course, you concentrate on the technologies and not on the tools and just finding out how to make a tool work, because that is just going to waste your time or take your time away from your technical learnings and practice, right? So that's why we have created a package, an OVA file for EVNG, which once you join the course, you will get it, and you will be able to import it in VMware with just a single click. And once you do that, you already will have all the routers and switches images installed, licenses properly already installed, and the topology is already pre-built. So the topologies I just showed you, some of them we will be pre-built, and then you will be able to just boot them and start using them right from day one. So we take all the complexity away from the EVNG, so that all that precious time you can place into learning technologies, right? So routing, switching, SD-WAN, programmability part, all these OVAs or EVNG packaging files, we are going to provide you guys, right? By the way, just a second. Yeah, so everything will be provided to you, even including the images. So by the way, in case if you are interested into any of this information and if you need more information, you can already see the link I have pasted into the chat. You can book a call with my partner, and then he will provide you more information about everything. But yes, images and everything will be pre-installed, licenses will be pre-installed, and you will have every information that you need to know, need to start using EVNG, right? Second thing you will see is that topology is already set in EVNG, so you can directly start using it with our labs. Because in the exam also the same thing happens. So you need to practice what you see into the exam, right? For example, when you go for the exam, there is a topology which already has connections, IP addressing, and everything. And then you have a PDF where you need to read the question and implement the instructions, whatever they are saying. So in our single protocol labs, we concentrate on one topic, for example, EIGRP or span RSpan or VLAN and trunking, only a single topic, but it will be the same structure. I will give you instructions and you need to configure devices according to the instructions. And I will do the lab in front of you in the live Zoom section, so you know exactly how to do it. And then we will have multi-protocol labs as well, where we will make sure that we have the topology and the PDF which has the questions just like exam. A 5 hours complete start to end configuration will be there, right? So topologies will already be set, and lab files will be sent every week for the next week, and solution files will be sent along the lab file. So this is something I have already explained to you before. One thing is there, which is that during the off days in a week, when we don't have the live Zoom session, you are encouraged actually to do the labs again, and feel free to contact me in case if you have any question, right? So I will be more than happy to answer any of your questions that you might have, right? Just a sec. So what is this software EVNG? So EVNG is, as I told you, that you just need to download the OVA we will provide you. You don't need to go to the EVNG website. You don't need anything. The only thing that you will need is the VMware, and VMware is a virtual machine engine, and it is freely available. So if you download the player, VMware Workstation Player, then it's freely available from VMware website. So you can actually download that and install that. But once that is done, you can import the OVA that we will provide into that, right? So it will be on VMware. Topology is already set in EVNG, and the OVA file will be sent in the first week when you join the course, and you just need to import that into the VMware, right? One thing I would like to tell you here, that if you decide to go ahead with CCI preparation, I would actually recommend you to have at least 8 gig of RAM in your system. So if you're using a laptop or if you're using desktop, make sure that you have at least 8 gig of RAM if you want to do all the practicals smoothly. Except SD-WAN. So SD-WAN, you will see it needs more RAM because we are using vManage, which requires a lot of resources. So for SD-WAN, we recommend 16 to 32 gig RAM. If you only have 8 gig RAM, you might see that it will be slower. I think you will still be able to do it on 8 gig RAM, but it will not be a smooth experience in that case. So SD-WAN is something that comes later after we complete all the core technologies. So once we are done with the core technologies and we are starting SD-WAN, I will send you a new OVA, which will only for SD-WAN. And for that one, we recommend to have at least 16 gig of RAM and Windows computer. That will be actually better if you have it. All right, I see a comment from Ronnie. Is this lesson being recorded? Yeah, this will be recorded and we will actually place it on our YouTube channel as well. So you will be able to watch it there as well. So in case if you have more questions or if you want to know a little bit more detail, you can always you guys can always book a call with my partner Christian, and you can get all the detailed information about this program right there, right? So once you import the OVA, make sure that you adjust the RAM according to your requirement, and the network interface should be set to network address translation, so that you have a smooth experience using EVNG. So actually in the VMware setting, you can see that the network adapter should be set to net, and the RAM or memory should be set to whatever level you like, right? So because once you import the OVA, it might have some predefined values, maybe 16 gig already set or 32 gig already set. If your system only has 8 gig of RAM, make sure you adjust it to 6 gig or something. That should be enough. Don't worry, if you set it to 6 gig out of 8 gig, it's not going to hog the complete 6 gig of RAM right away. It starts using it gradually as and when you start configuring the devices. So you don't need to worry about that. It's not going to use all of it, right? So that's completely fine. Uh, all right. So once this is clear, let's talk about the exam itself. So our program structure is very clear. We will make sure that we take every single technology separately, make sure you become comfortable, and then we do the multi-protocol lab. But what about the exam? What can you expect into the CCI Enterprise exam? So the CCI Routing and Switching exam is now called CCI Enterprise Infrastructure exam. And this exam is actually divided into two parts. One is the qual exam or qualification exam. So you need to take a multiple choice question exam or written exam, you can call it a theory exam, before you can take the lab. And that is called ANCOR 35401. This also works as a core exam for CCNP certification. So earlier what used to happen, CCNP was a separate certification. And if you want to do CCI, there used to be a dedicated CCI call written exam, right? But now they actually got rid of it. Instead, you can take the NCORE exam, which is one of the CCNP certification requirement. You have actually requirement of two exams for CCNP certification. One is NCORE and one of the elective. So you can choose NRC or software defined WAN, SD-WAN certification for that. But one of the exam is NCORE, and once you pass the NCORE exam, you are eligible to book the CCI lab after that. And the CCI lab exam is called the CCI Enterprise Infrastructure, and now it is actually version 1.1. So 1.0 has slight modifications, and now they are using 1.1. So what exactly do we expect into the lab exam? So written exam, as you already know, it is like CCNA, CCNP, multiple choice questions exam. There might be simulations, 3 or 4 simulations, but very easy configuration. So if you go through this training, that will be child's play to do those kind of simulations. But what about the lab exam? So it's an 8 hours exam. So what can we expect in this one? So it's an 8 hours hands-on exam, and it is divided into two parts. One is the design part. So it is the first 3 hours of the exam. And this is actually similar to if you guys are uh, familiar with the old CCNP structure. Old CCNP used to have route, switch, and T-shoot 3 exams. And the T-shoot exam had many simulations, and you don't actually get to configure anything, but you just need to answer questions based on the configuration. So it is very similar to that, the design exam, because it will have MCQs, drag and drop, but no configuration. You don't actually have to click on the device and configure something. You might see the configuration snippet, you might see a snapshot of the configuration, you might see a snapshot of a communication between two people in a company discussing about a issue, and based on those information you have to pick what is wrong or what needs to be done, and choose one or more answers from the multiple choice questions or create the drag and drop, right? So if your theory is clear, if your fundamentals are clear, design part becomes very easy, right? So you don't have any configuration in this part. The configuration comes into the second part, which is the DOO, deploy, operate, and optimize. And this is going to be 5 hours. And this one will have the complete configuration of a multi-protocol lab. So this one will have three major sections actually: routing and switching, software-defined networking, and programmability. So there will be three sections. Routing and switching section, the section one, it will have your switching concepts like VLAN and trunking, VTP, Ether channel, STP, and then in routing you will have EIGRP, OSPF, static routing, multicast, IPv6, MPLS, DMVPN, QoS. All these things will be into the routing part. And then comes SDN. In the SDN, you will have SDA and SD-WAN. And programmability, you will have the data encoding formats uh, um, you can actually use different formats like Zinza and all these. And you will also have the programmability language like Python and the network protocols like RESTconf and NetConf. So these things you will see here. JSON format and all these JavaScript object notation, these will be part of the programmability. Believe it or not, the biggest part, the biggest chunk of time, the part that is going to take the most time is routing and switching, because it is huge. As you see, it has routing, switching, VPN technologies, QoS, IP services. So it takes the most of the time. SDN is, although it looks scary because it's a new topic, but once you understand the logic, it's actually very easy and it's mostly GUI. So it becomes very easy to configure and implement it if you know the stuff. So it is not going to take as much time as routing and switching, but yeah, still it is going to take time. And programmability will be the shortest. You will not take more than 15 to 30 minutes to complete the programmability part. So we will actually plan also once we come to the multi-protocol labs that how we are going to tackle this and how we actually going to make sure that we go through this structure and understand the idea behind this, right? So you will get a topology in this second part, and devices will be partially pre-configured. So you don't have to configure everything from scratch, like IP addressing and trunking and VLAN. You don't have to do everything. Most of the devices will be configured even with routing also. Some of the devices will have OSPF already configured or EIGRP already configured, right? And you will need to configure the devices, the rest of the configuration as per the instructions you will see into the exam, right? So that will be the main idea behind that. And just a second. By the way, in case if you want to find more information, definitely click on the link, and you can check exactly what time you want to what time you want to book the call, and then you can also actually find out more information about this course, right? So that can be useful for you. All right, sorry about that. So what is expected from your side in this course? So you just need to show up into the live Zoom session, because we have seen something that we have a very, very successful program called Zero to CCIE, and that is a pre-recorded CCIE. It has in-depth knowledge about every single technology that you will need for exam. And if you really go through that program, you definitely become a wealth of knowledge. But the problem is it's pre-recorded. So, so what happens is that you sometimes watch the videos when you feel like motivated, and sometimes you don't feel like motivated, and then you stop for a long time. So there is no consistency in that, because you are your own boss in that case, right? But when you have a live Zoom sessions like we are going to have into Zero to Lab, which is to make sure that you can crack the CCI lab, you have to show up every week into your live Zoom session. So there is a consistency here, and that makes sure that you have the flow to get to the bottom of the all the concepts that you need to learn. Second thing, I will do the lab, and then you have to do the lab. So you will be forced to do the lab and forced to do the configuration every single week, so you will not actually lose any momentum into configuring as well, right? You will do the lab into this and you will ask the questions. So just these things and be consistent. These are the only things that will needed from your side, right? So just to give you a glimpse of what exactly do we have here. So for example, let me show you the one of the multi-protocol labs. So once we complete the single protocol labs where we talk about different things, we are going to go through a multi-protocol lab, which is similar to exam. So it will be something like this, where we have a data center connected to the headquarters, and then we have a internet connection, service provider network, which is allowing us to connect to some remote branches. Like you can see, we have branch 3 and branch 4. Branch 3 and branch 4, because branch 1 and branch 2 will be in SD-WAN lab, and you have to make sure you actually connect them and configure all the technologies, which I'll send you into a PDF file what needs to be done. So this is one example of a multi-protocol lab, right? So this is what I was talking about here. So this program, I just want to say one last thing is that I have two CCIs and I know exactly what is needed uh, from the student side, what is needed from the instructor side. Because when I was learning, it was very difficult and very challenging to gather the information that you need for a certain protocol. I had to refer to many different books because in a single book you don't get everything, and that is also not enough, because when you read the book you learn and then you forget, you learn and then you forget. So I had to make sure that I can practice also, and that time I was using GNS3. GNS3 doesn't have much switching exposure, it doesn't have much switching support, so it was like basically very painful to prepare. So the course like this actually solves all of those problems, because you have all the labs, you have the instructor support for Q&As, you do the instructor does the lab for you first, and then you do the lab following it. So everything that you need to know is already there, and the topologies that you need are provided to you, the OVA, so that you can practice the lab. Routers and switching images and licenses are provided to you. So basically from your side, all you need is these four things. You just show up, do the lab, ask the questions, and be consistent, and then you will be more than good to go, right? And lastly, a little bit about myself. So in case if you don't know, my name is Arpit Pandit, and I have been in training industry for more than 16 years. And I have been training Microsoft, Linux, Juniper, and of course Cisco, CCNA, CCNP, and CCIE. A little bit of security as well. And I have more than 11 years of experience of just training CCI. So I have trained many CCI students, and I think at least 40 students have passed CCI exam. I didn't keep the exact count, but more than 40 students, and most of them also passed into first attempt as well. It's not because I'm training something new or anything. It is just that training is my passion, and I just want to make sure that there is an aha moment when you learn something, when you have a new understanding of a particular topic. So that actually gives me great joy, and that's why we have started this business as well. And apart from this, I have two CCIs. One is in routing switching and one is in service provider. So my CCI number is 36410. The first one I did in back in 2012, and then second one is in 2014. And so I already have achieved the emeritus status as well in CCI. And I have practical experience also from consultation work. So I actually provide consultation to many organizations, many service providers as well. Most of them are now, I see they are moving to software defined networking solutions. And that is a good thing, because even if you go for software defined networking, the core protocols, OSPF, BGP, they never change. They are required everywhere, right? So even in the with the SD-WAN logic, internally in your network, you will need some routing protocol, and on the internet it works over BGP. It's not going to change it to SD-WAN anytime soon, so you do need the core knowledge as well. So I do provide consultation, so I always sometime include that experience also into our teaching. I see a question from Damien, and it's a good question. So what is the difference between this course and Zero to CCI? So I think this is something what I just mentioned before. Zero to CCI is a pre-recorded course, so it has all the information that you need to pass the CCI, right? And it's a very in-depth course, one of the best we have created actually. But the problem is it is pre-recorded, so the responsibility is on you to make sure you make time to consistently watch the videos, do the practicals, and create a schedule basically to complete the full course. It has more than 140 videos, so you can see that it's not going to be an overnight thing. And these videos are not Game of Thrones series episodes. Like, you have to learn and then you have to make notes. You have to practice. So the problem is the consistency. We have seen that many people absolutely love Zero to CCI course, and I would highly recommend you to purchase that also if you really need to have a wealth of information. But if you just do that, then you might not do it consistently. Zero to lab, on the other hand, we go through all the concepts in the live Zoom session. So you will have to join the live Zoom session. You have to make sure that you ask questions. You see me doing the lab, and I'm not doing the lab quietly, just sitting down, listening to music. I'm explaining what I'm doing. So it becomes extremely clear how something is done. And then you do the same lab into the live Zoom session. So consistency becomes a key factor. And practicing continuously week by week becomes another key factor. So that's the difference you will see. It's the live course, Zero to Lab, and Zero to CCI is a pre-recorded course. But that is also a beast of a course, I would tell you. So these are some of the information from my side. And with this, I would say let's get started. Just make sure that if you have any other questions, feel free to go to the link that I sent you. Feel free to go to book a call with Christian and get more information about this course, right? That is going to help you immensely in your networking journey, right? So any other questions, let me know. I will be more than happy to answer your questions. As far as the technical questions are concerned. I see a question from Jerry. What is the actual time of the class? So yeah, for more information about the next schedules and what will be best for you, actually, the best thing would be to book a call with Christian and get all the non-technical details from him. So the course structure is something that I explained you. That is what you will see, but that is what you will expect into the inside the course. But the duration of the course and when will it start and all this information and any other queries you might have, like are you ready for this, and how you are going to proceed and everything, payment information, you can actually book a call with Christian, and he will be more than happy to answer you all your questions there. I see a question from Ken. Got a little late, but what is used for the lab? EVNG? Yes. So we use EVNG, but we take all the hard work away from you. You don't need to find the images. You don't need to install the licenses. You don't need to think about what topologies can you use, because for CCIE, you need to have specific topologies. So we have created a package, OVA package, which has everything, all the necessary images, all the topologies pre-built, licenses installed, and all the single protocol and multi-protocol labs right there. So for you, the moment you import the OVA for EVNG, immediately you can start doing the practicals right with me here. So that's why we call it a completely hands-on approach. You start doing the practicals right from the first week, right? So EVNG will be the primary software for that. So definitely feel free to book a call. I would say that whatever you decide to do, just make sure that you have a meeting with Christian first, so that you can understand exactly in and outs of this course, and that will actually help you a lot with all your questions as well. So book a meeting with Christian. That will be the best thing to do going forward. Any other question, guys? Right. So if there is no other question right now, Okay, I see a question now. Is Zero to CCI a recorded session of Zero to Lab? No, Zero to CCI is not a recorded session of Zero to Lab. When you join Zero to Lab, you will get the recorded sessions or access to the recordings of Zero to Lab sessions. But Zero to CCI is the in-depth pre-recorded sessions, pre-recorded training sessions. So it's actually not a live class. It is something that I have created in depth every single protocol step by step. And it was a 52, it's a 52 weeks program where you go through all the information in a year and then be ready for the exam. But the only thing is that the responsibility to do it consistently is on you. That's what makes Zero to Lab different from Zero to CCI, but it's not the same recordings. So guys, if you don't feel like remembering any question for the time being, I would recommend you to bookmark this link to book a meeting with Christian, and make sure you do that, so that in case if you have any other questions in future, or if you remember something later, you can get your answers there, right? So just make a note of this link so that you can book a call later. So if I'm going to close this webinar now, and later if you have a question or you remember something, you can get all your answers on the Zoom call, right? So thank you very much, guys. Just make a note of the meeting link, and I hope to see you into the class. Have a good night. Bye bye.